Let's do some chat from the deep.
Uh-huh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chat from the Deep, our weekly live stream post-session discussion. We talk about what just happened during D&D. This is the chat for session 38. If you watch that, please go do that, because there will be spoilers. I'm your DM, Eric, and joining me, we have Gottwald's player, Chris.
Who do you have? Hello.
Who do I have? And Max, player, Raymond.
Hello.
This probably won't be too long of a chat, because it wasn't a whole lot that really necessarily...
Fight?
It was a bar fight, yeah. So this is what I kind of hinted at to you, Chris, in terms of the D&D stuff going forward, is like, I wanted to introduce one more kind of element before we get to the super linear stuff. And, this adventure has a neat bit where it has these named, pirate lords that are like Tentrix's kind of main captains, and they all have their own tokens and,
like
role-playing notes and stats. I'm like, well, I definitely want to use them. But in the campaign, they all just kind of hang out at the main base.
Oh, all 5 of them?
Yeah, and that seemed...
When you were describing them, I was almost imagining that like we were going to, in video game terms, come back to the map and like 5 exclamation points are going to appear on the map.
I mean, that's not too far off in terms of what I would like to do.
But we just don't have them all yet. We only have 2 so far, I guess.
You have 2 locations, and technically you already saw one of the pirate captains was right here, which was a fun twist that I thought would be a nice punctuation to an exposition scene, basically, and just do another bar. We already had one bar fight in this campaign, but this just seemed like a good excuse for another one.
What was the first one?
Because I used this exact same map.
Ah! I didn't notice.
It was the end of the Pirate Skyhold quest where Sabra met the dragon and told you about the person who hired the Undead Ghost Pirates was a member of the Kraken Society, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And then went back here and realized it was Ned, shocking twist.
Oh.
Who turned into a Deep Scion. I'm so glad to remember that memorable moment.
Yeah, that happened here?
That was in a bar fight. Yeah, you went to a tavern and met him there, and it turns out he had a bunch of Kraken Society allies with him, so it was on a big bar fight.
Yep, I do remember that one. I don't remember it being this map, but yeah, I do remember that.
Yep. Yeah, I thought about like maybe I could turn it around or something, but I'm like, then I have to fix all the dynamic lighting and
right.
And I did not have a whole lot of time for prepping this week as me and Chris were hanging out, so I had just enough of this prep from last week, and then I prepped a little bit today. But I was like, you know what? It's a level up episode. It's gonna be some exposition, and then we're gonna do this bar fight. It's not gonna be too terribly complicated.
Right.
Yes, I employed my patented cinematic surprise, which I have done a couple times now. Which is a DM rule I have that I've been leaning into, which is basically the surprise round, and the designers agree with me because they're doing something with surprise for the next edition of D&D where they're like,
oh, really?
Yeah, I think it was during that video I reacted to where they're like, yeah, surprise is crazy, like it's
right, where it's too powerful.
It's too powerful for either side.
But I think they're going the opposite direction you're going. They're going like, surprise is too powerful, sort of pulling back on it. That's the vibe I got.
Yeah,
I don't know, or at least we're changing it somehow.
Right, and my idea is like, so instead of having like every single token ambush you or something, I was like, what if it's just like one thing does one thing?
Oh, one surprise event. Okay,
one surprise event versus having to go through the motion of everybody rolling initiatives and go through the orders and all that, because that's just honestly, not very exciting.
That's almost outside of like an ambush situation, like literally like everyone's waiting for you and readying attacks. That's one thing. But in most situations, like I remember there was one in Tomb where it's like whoever pulls, like if it's a standoff, whoever pulls first, yeah, sure, they get a surprise action, but it's not like everybody on the team gets a surprise round. You just did the first thing, and so you get to do a thing, and then turn order starts.
Yeah,
right?
when you start getting into initiative and turn order stuff, it just seems weird to be like, all right, now we're still in the surprise round, and you're still like shocked, even though we've done like 4 things and it's been 20 minutes, right? Like you kind of lose the plot a little bit.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is like, all right, there's gonna be a surprise event that happens, and it's usually probably the big boss doing a big thing. to
Sure.
really add like, oh shit, we're in it now, and then we start rolling with irregular initiative.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of
yeah.
success doing that. I think it balances fights in a lot of interesting ways. It allows usually some boss to do something cool right off the bat and really set the tone of a battle. Obviously, I don't want to do it for every fight, but during these kind of just more memorable where there's some kind of big thing on the board. And in this case, it was literally like it was like a cutscene that happened where it transitioned from social scene to battle. And the idea was that this guy's gonna like stand up and do his big cool like
Sure,
ambushing
yeah.
scene. So
Yeah, in this situation, I think it definitely worked. Yeah, for sure. Because like we didn't know he was there, and he was hidden as a regular person, and then he transformed and popped out.
And this was definitely a situation where I'm not showing you this battle map when you guys are here, because everybody's thinking, okay, this is just a social scene. We're just hanging out at the world map and we're chatting with somebody, and then all of a sudden we transition into battle map mode once this actually starts.
You know what might help us though, narrative, to get in the right headspace for these cinematic surprises. Because I know like Ray tried to do a reaction, and we were all kind of like, well, shouldn't he have a reaction? We all saw him cast Fireball. I don't know how you do this exactly, but like, because you describe the transformation, but you could maybe just say like, outside of your guys' field of vision, like you guys don't see this happening, but behind you, a dude stands up and blah blah blah, transforms into a frog and casts Fireball. Because the minute you say that we see him transforming, in our heads we're like, well, we're ready for it. Like we're prepared. Like we have reactions, we can see it coming, we can pull up whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's outside of our awareness, then it's like, yeah, of course you don't get reactions. It's
I can't do anything completely outside your awareness. What's the fun in that? You got to be able to see the cool transformation that got described. I guess I could always argue that, which I would always change. If anybody can shapeshift, I always let them shapeshift as a bonus action, because no DM is ever going to shapeshift if it takes a whole action to do that.
That's exact. That is fair.
It feels really shitty. So he shapeshift as a bonus action and then throws the fireball as an action, I guess, is the surprise action.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know a lot of people probably that watch the stream would have questions about how that mechanically goes down. And one thing I make it as a cinematic surprise, and no, I haven't really codified it, is that if you notice, I do it before anybody's rolling initiative. So it's all like part of the cutscene, and then the thing happens and they have to all, roll saves or something still, but then like nobody's still rolling initiative until after that's happened, and then we're rolling initiative and the battle starts. So that's what I mean by like cinematic cutscene, is like it's happening before the battle even begins, and thus we have no real surprise round battle. We had like you said, a surprise event thing happened.
Right.
So I've enjoyed employing that a couple times, but I will say, obviously, you don't want to do that too many times.
Start every fight with us.
Yeah.
Start every fight with a fireball on us.
With a fireball pointed at you. Yeah. Yeah, I found the I loved having the images of the Pirate Lord captains. They're wonderful art. But then I found, I believe on the Discord Ghosts of Saltmarsh channel, which again has that Call from the Deep section on it, somebody made those awesome black and white kind of wanted poster versions.
I thought you'd made those for a second.
Oh God, no.
Those online?
No. I definitely don't take any credit for that.
The program I was telling you about, Eric, that's like a filter you could do.
Okay.
It's like a pen filter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
right. Somebody. Yeah. So I'm not saying somebody might necessarily redrew it, but somebody did that work and turned those into wanted posters and uploaded them to the channel. And
nice.
And I definitely saw that and I was like, gosh, I have a great use for this. And this is how Cal is actually going to show you this artwork for each one. You get kind of an idea of each one. I had like a 1-sentence description just to try to give that, which I'll need to add to the journal, just to give you guys kind of a heads up on some of the people you'll be facing, because there won't always be a whole, and there really wasn't even with Scummer in terms of like a dialogue scene or something. Like, these guys are hostile from the get-go. They know you guys, and some of them are actively hunting you, as you saw.
Right. Yep.
But once you saw Scummer, I could release the whole artwork there. So that's all those characters are legit from Call from the Deep.
I mean, it's good art. Yeah.
It's cool.
Are those tokens from Call from the Deep? Because like I did notice like he has like a very nice token where he's popping out of the ring and all.
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I didn't make any of those tokens. Yep, they did all those. Yeah, I was pretty impressed. And Ray, I appreciate you trying to hunt him down. And honestly, it's not like I guess I don't want to spoil things too much. if I'm ever introducing an enemy onto the battlefield, I am prepared to lose said enemy. I will say that. It wasn't like he was critically important to have to survive. But that was definitely something I was going to try to do.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it was a try.
It was
In
a
fairness,
try, yeah.
I read invisibility. It's an hour. Like, what fool would take off invisibility as soon as he walks out? But
Well, and here's
I'm
the
out
other.
I'm out of the bar.
Here's the other thing that I didn't want to quite say right out of the gate, but maybe I hinted. The fact that you saw him shapeshift from a person into a monster. Who's to say he can't just shapeshift back into a person and just have the perfect blend right back into the crowd and be like the ultimate? He's like your dream assassin, basically, somebody who can shapeshift and go invisible. So very, very hard to hunt down.
Yeah.
But I did appreciate you trying.
It is in my character to try anyway.
Yeah.
You do hate the frogs.
Yeah, I hated shutting that down because I didn't want the vibe to be like, oh no, they're like, I have to keep this character alive. You can't hunt him down. It's like, that's not necessarily the case, but it is like he's actually got a pretty good toolkit where he's good at staying alive. And personality-wise, I definitely see him as the one who would run away, basically. Like, the one who's just...
No, I don't feel bad about it. Like, I don't feel gypped or anything. I mean, yeah, like I said, I read invisibility, and then, he's got the rogue guys too, like you said. But
here's a good question.
Gotta try.
Here's a good question for you two. Do you feel like I pulled his escape too early?
No, we killed a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Look, we killed like half his crew.
I know. That's what I was looking at, going, holy shit. Because I figure as soon as Gottwald gets in his face, I'm not going to be able to escape with this guy. Gottwald has so many tools to grab people or cancel their movements or whatever they're doing that as soon as Gottwald gets in his face, this guy, I take it back. He had one thing he could do, but
like Misty Step or something.
Not quite. It would have been interesting, but it still would have added a lot of complications to it.
Yeah.
And I think, I think from his perspective, he was looking at there going, gosh, half the dudes are dead. None of them have gone down. Like, he just needs to get the fuck out. Even though he had I think he'd been shot by a Mac like twice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, poisoned him.
And poisoned
poisoned him, yeah, which also probably demoralized him a bit, which I liked that. So because I was always trying to think, like, when do I pull the trigger on the escape? Because a lot of times enemies don't leave.
Right.
And I didn't have any of the other guys leave. I just had them kind of stick around because they seem pretty loyalist, but
yeah,
he had to pull out of there.
Yeah, I mean,
it
did seem like, I mean, it only seems like he left early because he didn't do much. Yeah. Right? He had the opening.
I think he had two. I think he had the opening, and then he had one round where he threw the fire motes.
Yes.
At you guys.
Did some damage with those.
Yeah, and then I think it was that second round, basically, that I looked at the battlefield going, man, this might be the time where he needs to GTFO, or he's going to just get hard to get out of there, basically. I might have been able to hang him around for like one more round, maybe, but he would have taken a lot more damage.
Yeah.
But I like that.
That's just that way his character is, right? Get out when you can see the tides are turning, then... Yeah, by then half the crew was gone.
Which may not be the case with, their pirate captains, too. How did you guys feel about the Captain Callus stuff?
It's good.
It's been
I have some compunction with we don't know Captain Callus very much, but the fact that him taking moral umbrage at us killing civilians, I was like, wait, isn't this a pirate who's killed plenty of people before? But maybe it's his people. I don't know.
Yeah, it was interesting because I did try to play him as multi-dimensional, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was trying to recall the conversation because I think we specifically had a conversation where you were like, I need to know if you're like one of the good ones or not because of Gottwald's problem with pirates in general.
Yeah.
And when he initially like even had Sabra like ally with him or something, you're like, well, I don't want him ally with this guy, and he probably kills people. And then I think there was a conversation where he was like, hey, I steal and I enjoy my freedoms, but I'm not in it for like wanton murder and all that necessarily. Now he wasn't saying he was a saint or anything, and he probably has killed a lot of people. But
he did say something though. One of his lines, something about like protected territory, kind of reminds me of John Wick, right? This is like the hotel.
The hotel,
right? Yeah,
that's a good analogy, actually.
You don't fight here,
right?
And then if you do, you still don't like just kill everyone, burn it down.
Right.
You aim for the threat.
Yeah.
So yeah, when he was like telling Scummer it's protected territory, I was like, oh man, this is like John Wick vibes.
Yeah, and then Sabra went and had nuked a bunch of people, and Callus did have a big problem with that. He was like, if anything, he's like, not here. If this were like at the Black Armada's territory, then fucking I don't care. But he's like, he took umbrage at that. So I had it in my notes that like his dealings with the party is really going to depend on how they deal with him. In terms of whether he helps them fight, whether he if they paid him or not, if he sticks around, if he's nice, if he's rude, like all this stuff. I really want to try to make him and it's fun because this is, I think, the third time now that we've seen him, and he is a character in Call from the Deep with multiple stat blocks because you encounter him in multiple chapters, so he actually does scale up, which is not the case with a lot of NPCs.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun.
Which means you could potentially fight him in each one of those stages.
You could, yeah. And I almost even did that, but I was like, hey, he's no fool. But he definitely took umbrage at Savra, specifically Nuki. Because I always thought, like, okay, part of the challenge from these fights is like, gosh, there's people everywhere. We can't do big AoEs. And she's like, no, big AoE. I took the spell. I'm using it.
That may have been just outside of universe. Like, you just leveled this up. You give us our big level up fight.
The big toys.
She's going to throw her big toys out.
Yep.
I was thinking in the break before we started this, we haven't really paid attention to alignment, but this would definitely... I don't even know what her alignment is.
I don't either.
Heather's played one good character. I feel like the rest are like neutral evil.
Yeah.
or maybe
varying
lawful
degrees.
evil, some of them. Yeah.
I mean, this almost, I feel like chaotic.
Yeah. We're just like, I'm just going to do it on everybody here.
Yeah, just try the new spell, like Chris was saying. But, so we don't ever enforce alignment, but...
I mean, alignment, I feel like that's almost more just for DMs, quick adjustment. Like, I think that that alignment thing, I don't know how well that works for like a complicated character you play over the course of a long time.
Right.
So I'm okay with like not, but I do think there needs to be some kind of consistency with a character. And to her credit, that is probably consistent with Sabra. I think I was most upset that everybody else was okay with it.
What are we going to do?
I don't know.
Yeah,
but the fact that everybody just kind of collectively shrugged about it.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do in universe? But also, what are we gonna do like as players?
Yeah,
like, we're not gonna get mad at Heather for casting a spell. That would just bring the whole mood down.
Well, you don't have to get mad at. That's a tricky thing. I mean, I think there's
because it would be getting mad at Heather. I don't think we could play it as like, don't do that. From Gottwald to Savra.
Yeah,
it would come across as Chris to Heather. It would. I feel like it would legit be like, hey, don't do that. I don't want you to do that.
Yeah,
because there's civilians here. That's always a weird thing with like players who don't get, or not players, characters who don't get along.
Yeah.
And how you role play that is real tricky.
It is tricky. I mean, and that's
especially when it's like a tactical decision that you're trying to you're trying to use the character to have you to like tell the other player you want them to do something or not do something.
Yeah. I mean, I think inter-party dynamics can be a lot of fun and is the anchor for a lot of good ongoing shows and series. But both players have to be mature and have to buy into the role-playing aspect of that for sure. But that was a situation where I didn't necessarily was shocked or upset that she did it, because it did seem like it aligned with her character, that she would be pretty flippant and be like, yeah, they're going to be zombies eventually. But I was disappointed that like everybody just kind of collectively shrugged and was okay with it. And thus Callus was like, what the fuck? This is insane. Like he wanted people to be more like, I don't know, dramatic, and there could have been a way where you could have sold it to him that like this was absolutely necessary, we had to do this, but he was definitely upset by that going on, and I did try to paint it that it was like neutral ground. I actually liked the hotel aspect, without like the huge backing of the assassin organization. This was just kind of a safe haven that people hang out at.
I think we're also slightly limited by turn order there too, because like literally like we're not. It's not our turn. You know, like there's not how much role play can we do on other players' turns?
Boy, that's always a tricky thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like how much conversation are we allowed to have like after she casts a spell on her turn?
Yeah. As much as the DM allows you to, is what it really comes down to, an experience. Like people are always trying to push that, I think, and a lot of times one of you will be like, all right, and that's my turn. And sometimes I'll have to be like, all right, let's move on to the next initiative or something.
Right.
But there's no hard and fast rule about pure role playing. Like how much can we get by?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess Gottwald would have a problem with it, but I don't want to go down that route with Gottwald because then every interaction with her is going to be about that. That's going to be a bummer to me.
Yeah,
I mean, for him to just constantly be like, "Oh, I don't like these. Oh, I don't like this."
Yeah.
You know, that's going to be like the whole thing if I start going down that road.
Well, I think it's okay to evolve the thought process too and let one player convince another. But I think all the way back to Kalinar, like Kalinar was like the judge, jury, executioner, and other party members had a problem with that.
They did, yeah, for sure.
And I think that led to some interesting group dynamics for that party. But it also wasn't necessarily I don't know. I guess I have to go back and remember.
I think in that case, like, Chris can take it too.
Yeah.
Like, right, I can be the asshole, and people can call me an asshole. I don't have a problem with people calling me an asshole.
Yeah,
like to my face. Yeah, and I actually kind of like enjoy playing those characters sometimes. So yeah, but yeah, like I think like especially me and Reese, because I think we both have such a long history of being able to be mean to each other a little bit.
Yeah.
And being okay with it. So a lot of our characters are kind of like antagonistic or have been in the past. These two aren't really, Doral and Gottwald. But
yeah,
like,
I mean, I do feel like a lot of the times that there's like a Suicide Squad vibe or like anti-hero vibe.
Yeah.
Where everybody's like, oh, we're all kind of badasses that don't really there aren't any lawful goodies here.
Yeah. I think part of that is that like, if there's one bad apple, you're all kind of the Suicide Squad. You know what I mean? Like
by condoning
by being in the party with the person, because logically what would happen is the murderer, whatever party you're in, the murderer would murder and everyone else would leave. like, oh God, you're doing terrible things. Like when Talus raised zombies in a town square, we'd all be like, we're gonna just back away from this crazy person.
Which actually happened, I think, in a session. Demnix actually mentions in the High Roller show they had a sit-down session when the previous one a player set a shop on fire with the owner in it as a prank. So that'd be the other way you could do it, is not do it in the session, but maybe the next session, or in role-playing terms, and just in passing, which would be interesting if you do it when you're not in the heat of the moment, I think.
That probably would be better.
You do it later and you're like, hey, by the way, all those people that died back there, like, is that going to be something we're going to keep doing? Where's the line with our group? We need to have this discussion.
Yeah. I think we've tended to play a little bit like each character has their own line, and we all kind of stay in our own lane as far as where that line
and be like,
is
well, I can't be responsible for that person.
Yeah.
The problem is that I, as the DM, have to react as NPCs to the group collectively.
Which, that's what I'm saying about the Suicide Squad thing.
Yeah.
You as the DM have to go to the lowest common denominator. You have to react to whoever's doing the worst thing. That is the bar set by the whole group, because that's just how you have to react to it. So yes, that is that's just always been the case, though. I think like whoever does the worst thing, that's the thing that the party did, even though it was only one player.
Yeah, so that hence why Callus kind of passed moral judgment there, which not every character necessarily would, but I think I did paint him as a little more complex, and certainly did not like to see people. He was prepared to fight with you guys. I think he did in the first round.
He did. Oh yeah, he did. Yes,
he was under attack just like you were, but he does have Misty Step in his kit, which is very helpful for him to get away when he needs to. But I also didn't want to necessarily lock you out of content, which is something that an RPG would, that I don't necessarily want to, which is like, all right, he'll throw down the information.
The Baldur's Gate thing of they're gone. Like whatever they had in store.
You made the choice this way, so you don't get access to this content.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I'm gonna still give you the content. I'll just do it this way.
Yeah.
So another
Yeah,
thing
that's-
that I was
that's-
go ahead.
Oh, that's kind of how I see you adjusting to the situation. It's like I think it's a little easier maybe for the DM or and maybe but to adjust the story to react to these deeds, right? All these innocents got killed. So okay, here's an NPC that could have worked with us. He's probably never going to work with us again.
Yeah.
The bartender just saw us murder a bunch of people. like it's kind of like in
Oh,
Baldur's Gate.
bartender! I had no mercy for the bartender or sympathy for the bartender. He admitted that, like, under duress, he set us all up. So you don't get a pass for that.
Yeah.
Well, now it's the bartender's story, right? It's like
That's right.
talking about all these people. It's the four of us murdering a group of people.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in Baldur's Gate, I guess. We haven't talked about that in a while. All right, you murder innocent people, the game turns on you.
Yeah.
Right.
Like-
Everybody in the
like-
room turns on you regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like as a collective, we're like, well, crap. One of our party members did that, and the game has responded, and now we just take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's influenced a little bit too, since we all play Baldur's Gate together. It's like, well,
Right,
We need to check and see if they ever fixed our fucking bug problem. I know they've released a
we
patch
do.
or two,
Yeah.
but so yeah, I agree with Chris though. It's really hard as players to react. Like I'm like thinking, okay, what would Mac be like? Oh crap, you kill all these people? Why? It's like that's just
And then where does that end too? Like we
Mhm.
express our like, oh no, you did the thing. Let's
then
keep
what?
fighting.
Do we attack?
What?
Do we attack Savra now and restrain
no,
her?
I don't think it has to come to that, but I think just I'm not forcing you guys to do anything you don't want to do. I don't want to say it like that way. But that'll just say that's the way that my characters had to react to the situation is they
Right.
saw that happen and they saw all of you kind of tacitly condone that. So, yeah, the world.
Yeah,
the world
yeah. Well,
watches.
the best we could have done is just express like, oh no, how could you, Savra? Okay, then let's continue fighting.
Yep.
Uh,
It certainly has been par for the course that we have at least one or usually most of the party engage in morally dubious.
It's usually about like like half to three quarters.
Half
That's
to
usually
three
our ratio.
quarters. Probably the only party that didn't was the one where you were the DM and we were the high level campaign, but that one also
Yes.
didn't give us a whole lot of opportunities for like being in cities with people
Civilians,
and stuff.
yeah, there were
civilians.
yeah,
It was all like monsters and dungeons and
it's all
high-level
fantastic.
stuff, so-
Also, yeah, not a lot of That was the one time Heather played like a legit,
and
like,
ironically
good.
she played like a wonderfully like very straight-laced person who wouldn't harm a fly. Indeed. All right, well we are back doing this once a week. Unfortunately I don't know where you guys are going to go next, but I'll just prep some places and give you those location ideas, and we'll see where we're going to end up for next time. But I threw some more things, some more ideas and stuff for you guys to handle in the coming
Yeah.
weeks.
do you want to give us some choices real quick?
Well,
You're
you've got two new locations on your map, and unfortunately, well, I'll tell you the one thing you don't know, because you weren't able to continue the conversation with Callus, is you don't know anything about them other than their locations and the name.
yeah.
So one of them is called Iron Hand Cairn. Write that in the.
You said he dropped a map and he circled 2 spots, right?
He dropped a map. Yes, you know the locations and the name. So so Iron Hand Cairn is one of the locations, and the other is Narino. Iron Hand Cairn looks like it's on an island, and Narino looks like it's in the middle of the sea.
Okay.
And the only notes you got from him is that these are like most likely locations in this area that Tentrix would be sending those pirate lords out to plunder. These are, and he mentioned the fact that they're searching for like magic items and artifacts and things.
Yeah.
Is like one on the way to the other? Can we go to the closest one?
I mean, to be honest, I can put them wherever the fuck I want. So
It's
yeah, I could, and I may look at it and decide like, oh, maybe this one would be better to put forward. But if you're saying you'll
I-
go to the closest one, then maybe I can make
think
that the one
so.
I prep.
Yeah, I mean that's generally yeah.
And I'll be honest, I'm definitely making them both to where they're none of them are gonna be that far. Like they're all gonna be between you guys now and the Nillanthers. I don't have any desire to have you go all over this fucking world.
Right.
Map's big enough, but yeah, they'll both generally be not too far. And I did mention the fact that it's this region specifically he was doing like intel for. I know, and I usually do Jason, but this one, I mean, I could just prep both areas, or like I said, I could choose which one I want to go first, and then I'll put that one closer to you guys, and you guys will go to that one.
Yeah.
We'll make a pact right now.
That's right.
I think they're pretty equal. You know, they're both just circles, and
Yeah.
like you said, they're just both potentials. We got to check them both out anyway. So just the closest one.
All right, that's fair.
Mhm.
I will keep that in mind. All right, I think that will do it for this week's Chat from the Deep. Thank you to Chris and Raymond. I am Eric. Thank you to the wonderful fans for watching, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.